Hey guys, welcome back to the Touch MBA podcast. I'm your host, Darren. I'm a former MBA admissions director, and what I do on the show is bring on other MBA admissions directors and successful MBA students from the world's top-ranked MBA programs to discuss what makes each of these programs unique, what makes each of these business schools unique, and also dive deeper into how you guys can give yourself the best chance of getting into these elite MBA programs worldwide. This week, I brought on Dr. Jonathan Clarke, who is the Interim Dean at Georgia Tech or Georgia Institute of Technology's Scheller College of Business. He's also an Associate Professor of Finance there, and he's been at Scheller for over 2 decades. So he's a great guest to have on the show to talk about what makes their culture unique and where the program is heading in the future. So I think those of you who are considering Georgia Tech, top MBA programs in the Southeast, maybe you're really drawn to Atlanta, I think you'll walk away from this episode with a clear picture of the qualities and culture that this program is looking to push forward in their MBA program. But before I get to my conversation with Jonathan, just a reminder that you can get free school selection help at touchmba.com. If you upload your profile there, tell us your career goals, share with us your test scores, and any other questions you have about school selection. We'll do our best to point you in the right direction in terms of which schools fit you best, in terms of how you can strengthen your profile before you apply, and to give you an idea of your competitiveness at your target MBA programs. So you can find that all for free at touchmba.com. All right, let's get to my conversation with Dr. Jonathan Clarke. I'm really honored to have our next guest on the show. He is the Interim Dean of Georgia Tech's Scheller College of Business and an Associate Professor of Finance at Scheller as well. So Dr. Jonathan Clarke, welcome to the Touch MBA podcast. Great to have you here.
Hi, Darren. I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, we're really honored to have you. And before we jump into the program, could you just quickly let us know about your main responsibilities at Scheller and how you're involved in the business school?
Oh, sure. So as Interim Dean, I'm involved in all aspects of Scheller. You name it, from what we do in the classroom across all of our different programs, undergrad, graduate, executive education programs, to HR, to managing our finances. So as the Interim Dean, you're involved in everything that goes on at Scheller and also at Georgia Tech. So it's been a terrific learning experience so far. When I'm not the Interim Dean, I'm the Senior Associate Dean of Programs, and there I directly oversee the undergrad program, our graduate full-time evening programs, and then also our executive education programs.
Oh, wow. And have you taught in the MBA program before?
I have been a professor at Georgia Tech for, this will be my, I think my 22nd year, and I've taught the core MBA program, the core MBA finance class for the past 22 years. So this will be the first time I haven't taught it since I started at Georgia Tech back in 2001. So that's the only downside of being the Interim Dean, is I don't get to be in the classroom with our students. So this semester. So they're really terrific. So I always enjoy teaching the class.
Oh, fantastic. Wow. So yeah, so you have the professor hat, the dean hat. All right, let's jump right into it. So I start every podcast with a simple question, right? What makes the Georgia Tech Scheller MBA unique from all the other top business schools?
Yeah, that's a terrific question. And so I think the one thing that's unique about the Georgia Tech Scheller College of Business is that we really position ourselves and pride ourselves at being at the intersection of business and technology. I mean, Georgia Tech is just an incredible reputation as a technological university doing cutting edge research. And Scheller operates right in that space. So that's our unique positioning, is being at that intersection of business and technology. And I think what that means for students in our programs is that we have courses on machine learning, we have courses on AI, we have courses on how you should evaluate emerging technologies. And we have hands-on experience with companies that are just getting going, right? So it's the startup community. So we're right there in Tech Square. We're surrounded by innovation centers. We're surrounded by startups, and so it's a really unique space, I think, among top MBA programs, and it's one that we're very proud of.
Hmm. Could you tell us, because we have a lot of international listeners, could you tell us more about Georgia Tech's sort of reputation in the Southeast and in the wider US in general, and Tech Square as well? I think that would really help.
Sure, sure. So for the international audience, one thing that I really like to mention is that our MBA program is STEM certified, right? And so it's the entire MBA program, and so that's really important for international students. That gives you
Yes.
that one additional year of OPT, and so that's one big thing to mention up front. I think some of the highlights, it's your question about tell us a little bit about Georgia Tech's reputation. I think when you answer that about the Scheller College of Business, it's you can jump to some of the rankings that are out there, and I think they do a good job of capturing really where we stand out. So our MBA program has top 10 specialties in business analytics, information systems, supply chain,
Mm,
and so those are some of the areas where we really stand out. Internally to Scheller, we also have the Creative Destruction Lab. We also have the Tiger program. That's where students really get a sense of what it takes to become an entrepreneur, what it takes to launch your own company and create that company. So those are the hands-on programs where students really get embedded with entrepreneurs, work on real projects, and so those are some of the unique programs that we have in Scheller. We are located right in Midtown Atlanta, and so we're located just close by to a bunch of corporate headquarters. We have Delta's nearby, Coca-Cola's nearby, NCR's nearby. There are about 16 Fortune 500 companies located right near us. And so it's a terrific environment from that perspective. The other thing I would say about our area is that we are right near ATDC. That's our Advanced Technology Development Center. So that's kind of an incubator for companies at Georgia Tech. And it's really impressive what they've accomplished. 160 companies have been started at the center, and those companies have generated over 12.7 billion in revenue that have started there. Some of the companies that have started there include MindSpring, Greenlight, Transnexus, Fix. So there are lots of companies that have started there, and our students have the opportunity to work there. They have the opportunity to get involved with those startups while they're here on campus.
mm. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about the Tiger program you mentioned. And I saw also that the MBA program seems to have, like, it's a relatively smaller class size compared to other top ranked business schools, right? And I'm wondering how that feeds into the experience as a student, especially, like you said, at this intersection of business and technology. Yeah.
So the smaller class size, and I'd say our incoming classes are around 75 students or so. Our smaller class sizes, I think there's some benefits of
Oh, yeah.
that. And so the benefits of some of the smaller class sizes are one is you really get to know your professors very well, and you can really get to know them. And our professors at Scheller are fantastic. They're thought leaders in their field. They're active in their research, but they're also active in what's going on in industry. And so that small class size can be helpful from that perspective. With the smaller class size, you also really get to know your classmates and the people you graduate with. They will be that lifelong network for you after you've graduated. So I would say that our Scheller MBA students tend to be year after year, they just tend to be really a close knit group. And I think that's one big benefit of the smaller program. With the smaller program, you also get a lot of attention. You get a lot of attention from career services, which is a major strength of Scheller. You get a lot of attention from our MBA office. And so that's very helpful. You get a lot of attention from people that just want you to succeed. And so the smaller class size, it's maybe it's not for everybody, but in my mind, it's a really big benefit of It's a benefit of our program.
Mm. I mean, you taught the core finance module. Does that mean that, about 70, 75 students are in the same class taking all the core courses together, or?
We generally split it up into
Oh,
two
okay.
cohorts. So I'll
Okay.
do, the core classes are generally sort of in that 35 to
Wow.
40 range. And so yeah, that's so we'll do two sections of our full-time, two cohorts of our full-time program.
Got it. Yeah. And so I'm wondering, like, how much students academically interact with other parts of the school, because you guys are at the intersection, like you said, of business and technology, and you're well known for those disciplines you mentioned, but you also have so many concentrations that students can take. If you don't mind, I could just read some of them, like entrepreneurship, international business, management of information resources, supply chain operations management, product and service innovation, strategy and innovation, sustainability, technology innovators, and supplemental concentrations in law and ethics and real estate.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot of different choices that the students can choose from when they're here, and so I think there's lots of avenues to get involved based on their interests. So students will come in and take the generally core classes
okay.
their first semester, and then starting in their second semester, it opens up to take some of those elective courses, and there's a lot to there's an awful lot to choose from.
And so do they take some of those electives outside the business school, or are they all within the business school?
Most of the electives, I think, for the most part, are still taught by the business school professors, and so now a lot of these courses that we teach are practicum type courses, and so that's where it's not just a business, it's not just a Scheller Business School professor teaching the course, right? It's a Scheller Business School professor guiding students as they work on projects with companies. So we have a supply chain practicum class, we have a sustainability practicum class, and so that's really essential. Those kinds of hands-on courses that bring in projects that the real world companies are dealing with, and giving students a chance to tackle them.
I mean, having been part of the faculty for, over 2 decades, like, has the strength of the school like changed over that time? Academically, in terms of reputation. I mean, what should applicants know about, like, wow, where Georgia Tech really stands out?
Yeah, I mean how the college has changed over 22 years. I think it's changed a lot. I think when I first got here, the faculty was relatively small, and we've grown pretty
Huh.
significantly since then. And the rankings have definitely come up
Oh,
over
yeah.
the years, and so that's been great to be a part of. I think the big thing that's allowed us to grow and to succeed is just that Georgia Tech and Scheller, we've been able to really attract some top-notch faculty. I mean, we just have some really incredible thought leaders that are here on our staff, on our faculty. Students can take courses from them, and that's what's really driven our growth over the years. Is I think that ability to attract top faculty. It's kind of like this really great cycle. You get top faculty, students want to come here, and so that's really what's helped drive growth, is being able to attract top faculty, top students, and it's our location that helps with that as well. I mean,
Yeah.
it's an exciting area to be.
Yeah. And so we looked back a little bit. What about looking forward? As interim dean, how do you see the MBA program specifically evolving at all, if at
Yeah,
all?
that's a terrific question. I think I think you absolutely need to always be evolving your programs, and so and things are changing very rapidly now. I mean, if you look at where AI is today versus where people thought it was a year ago, that's changing. So making sure some of these concepts like AI, generative AI, that they're being introduced into the curriculum, and students get a chance to get experience with those while they're in the program. That's going to be really important for us going forward. And I think I think to do a good job of that, it's really going to be essential for us going forward to really partner with Georgia Tech's College of Computer Science, which is top 10 in the world, Georgia Tech's College of Engineering, which is, amazing, top 5 in the world. And so bringing those technologies that those schools, that those colleges at Georgia Tech are working on, bringing them into our MBA classroom is, I think, going to be something that we're really going to be working on in the coming years. And I also think just we're always looking at how can we make our curriculum more hands-on? How can we bring those experiences, those real-world experiences into the classroom? So I think those are some of the big things that we're going to be looking at.
Very exciting. And what is something, maybe, I'm sure you've seen a lot of students come through the program, MBA students, what is something they're surprised about in terms of just living and studying at Georgia Tech?
That's a good question. That might be one.
They're like, oh, what? I didn't expect this, or that.
Yeah, one. That's a really good question. I'm not sure, from the student's perspective, what they get surprised about when they get here. I think one thing that they might get surprised by is how much activity there is right around the College of Business. I mean, you step outside our door and you're surrounded by the incubators, by the startups. So there's a lot of activity just right near our building. And so that's something we try to communicate to students, but I think until you see it, that is that's tough to convey. And so that's certainly, I think, one big thing that they're surprised by. Maybe the other big thing that they're surprised by is, having been at this school for 22 years, the alumni support is absolutely amazing. And I think alumni, whether they're alumni from the College of Business, whether they're alumni from Georgia Tech, the alumni are always willing to jump in and help with students. And I think that kind of alumni support is important. I think that always gets my attention. I think that might surprise students to some extent as well.
That's a good surprise.
I mean, that's a good surprise.
That's a good one. Yeah,
good surprises are good.
Good surprises are good. So yeah, let's pivot to talking about admissions and scholarships. So our listeners are always excited to hear about this part. So are you guys looking for certain fit qualities from applicants?
I think the short answer is no. There's no one profile or background that we're looking for. I mean, I think we are looking for people from all kinds of different backgrounds. And so I think there might be this perception out there that, hey, we're looking for engineers, people that were engineers and thinking about coming back and doing their MBA, but that's not really the case. We look at people from all kinds of different backgrounds, and our students, in fact, come from all kinds of different backgrounds. We've had students that have worked for nonprofits. We've had students that have worked for corporations. We've had students that have worked for startups and come back to us. We've had students that have been high school teachers and come back to us. So they come from all different backgrounds. And so there's no one type of student that we're looking for. And I think that's important to mention, because I think that as a professor in the classroom, it's those diversity of backgrounds, diversity of opinions that really make for a terrific classroom experience. And I think that's what I see when I teach at Scheller. There's people that come from these different backgrounds, have different work experiences. They bring a lot of different viewpoints into the classroom, and it makes it an exciting place to teach.
So don't just self-select out of applying because you're not an engineer.
Yeah,
right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I mean, some of our best students they come from all different majors. And so, don't self-select out. And and I think that's an important point.
I mean, how would you kind of describe the culture or the energy in the classroom or in the program in general, just so someone who might not be able to visit personally could kind of get the aura or feel of the program?
It's interesting. The culture is, I think, collegial. I think people get along well. They want their classmates to succeed. The faculty, the staff, we want the students to succeed. So I think the environment is collegial. In terms of the culture, I mean, we've asked employers, we've asked them, what do you think of our students? How would you describe them? What do you think of them? And most often, the kinds of words we get back when people describe our students as, hardworking, humble, good problem solvers. I think that's fantastic. I think that's the way I
Yeah.
would describe our students as well. So I'm always happy when I hear stuff like that.
So are those some of the qualities that get you excited when you see the 4 rounds of applications and you're looking through some of them? Like what gets you and your team excited
Yeah, I mean,
to meet
I think
somebody?
it's yeah, I think it's those kinds of qualities where you get excited to meet people, or when you look at their resumes and you see the different activities they've been involved in or the leadership positions they have. That's always gets you interested in meeting with them. And then what I really enjoy, what I've said in on the interviews, is that what I really enjoy is talking to the students and also asking them, why Scheller? What made you want to apply
Mm.
here? Where do you
Hmm.
see, how do you see yourself fitting in? And so, yeah, that's what always gets me excited.
So I found your application very interesting because I've had a lot of different schools on the show. And I noticed for your 3 essay questions, you guys give a 2,000 character maximum. Well, how many words does that come out to? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I
I
know
should, I need
either.
a, yeah, but that's seemed like a lot, but maybe it's not actually. But I love that you guys have this 2,000 character maximum for your 3 questions. One of them is, what are your short-term career goals after you complete your MBA? Why an MBA? Why Georgia Tech? And then this fun one, 10 facts. So list 10 facts about yourself that will help your future classmates get to know you. I'm wondering if you had any tips on the essays and in the interviews as well. And let me phrase it from the point of view of helping you and your team get to know the candidate. Like, because it's challenging, I think, for applicants to really show themselves.
Yeah, I will say I think my most favorite question among the interview, the ones you listed, is the ten facts or the
Mm,
10 things
hmm.
about yourself.
Hmm.
We take that kind of info, and then we first day of orientation we do a meet your
Ah.
classmates. And so it's always great. You can pull in how many different countries are represented in our incoming class, what have been the career backgrounds, what are their hobbies, what are their interests, what have they done in the past, what do they like to do. And so that 10 facts is kind of always my favorite question. In terms of answering the other questions, I think they're just designed to capture, like, have you given some thought to what you hope the MBA will do for you, how it will advance your career goals, and what you're hoping to get out of the program. So I think
Mm.
the answers to those kinds of questions really help us get at how can Scheller help you advance?
I mean, speaking of that, I'm very curious in a sense because your program seems to be, like you said, in the middle of all these startups, like technology, influence everywhere, both corporate wise and academically. Do these students who apply, are you looking for almost like a business plan, like in terms of how they plan to take advantage of the resources at Scheller? Or can it be more broad? Or does it need to be as detailed as, like, okay, this club and this club, this competition, or this startup class that I want to take, entrepreneurship class?
It's a good question, and so I don't think it needs to be as detailed as a business plan. I mean, I think a lot of students, when they get into the program, what they thought they wanted to do changes. As they get exposed to as they get exposed to new ideas, sometimes
Mm,
they
yeah.
revisit what they want to do afterwards. But I think it's helpful if students know, hey, what we're known for. That intersection of business and technology. If they know some of our strengths coming in, and does there appear to be a good fit there? I think that is always helpful. So it doesn't have to be as developed as a business plan, but I think some sense of what Scheller is known for, how we operate at that intersection of business and technology. I think that's always very helpful to know coming into the interview.
Absolutely. I mean, and how would you suggest, like, a listener who's kind of inspired by our conversation, like, really get to know the school better? I mean, obviously you got the website and all that good stuff, but would it be talking to faculty or talking to your student ambassadors, or how would you suggest they really get to know the school?
All of the above. I think if they reach out to our, if they attend an info session, if they reach
Okay.
out and engage with us. I mean, I think those are all good things to do. I think the best way to get to know the program is to reach out to some of our current students, and so we do have those ambassadors that can help out. And so yeah, all of the ways you mentioned are just terrific ways
Yeah.
to meet with us and to engage with us. And so we're always happy to have those conversations.
Jonathan, what other tips do you have to give our listeners about how they can improve their chances?
I think we've covered a lot of it. I think one characteristic that maybe haven't mentioned that I think is important for Georgia Tech and for the Scheller College of Business is a good sense of curiosity coming into the program. Curiosity about different fields, about new technologies, about what's going on in the world. So I think that curiosity is a good thing as well. But I think we've covered a lot of the basis of what we look for in the program.
Can I ask now with the professor hat on,
Yeah, yeah.
like what type of students really make for an awesome MBA class? What type of, I mean, I'm sure they're all different, right? But is there anything you can kind of isolate or pinpoint for our listeners to think about? I mean, I don't often have professors on the show, so that's why I'm asking you this question.
So what makes for a good classroom experience as a professor?
Yeah.
the
Well,
question?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think what makes for a good classroom experience in my finance classes is always when students are willing to share their ideas and their thoughts. Now, those in finance courses, the way it kind of manifests itself is, what's going on in the world, what's going on in the stock market, what's going on in bond markets, what's going on with the economy. And so, students that are willing to share their thoughts, their ideas, that makes for a great classroom experience because we take their thoughts, their ideas, their experiences, and we kind of tie it back to the core concepts in the course. And so, what makes for that's partly what makes for is a willingness for people to share their ideas. And the other thing that makes for a great classroom experience is a diversity of ideas. If everybody in the classroom is
Right.
raising their hand and saying the same thing, that's not
Mm.
always that much fun.
Hmm.
What's
Yep.
interesting is when you have a diversity of ideas and where you might have some people in the class that say, well, I think this. And then you have people on the other side of the class say, well, I think it's this. And then you can kind of have some very good discussions about those differences in beliefs and how they might show up in financial markets and things like that. So I think those are the two things is an engaging class that's willing to participate in diversity of beliefs. And that always makes for a great classroom experience.
Yeah, and I think that's also a hint to applicants to like not be afraid to show your beliefs and tell people what you think and show yourself too during the admissions process, right? I think a lot of applicants feel like, oh, I need to be this sort of person, otherwise, GT won't even look at me, or
It's always,
so
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's always good advice to be yourself, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
to share what you think. So I
yeah,
totally agree.
yeah. With regards to scholarships, could you tell us more about kind of your philosophy towards how the school uses scholarships and obviously how those considering Scheller could improve their chances of
Yeah,
getting
so
one?
I mean, I can just talk broadly about scholarships, and scholarships are an important piece. We give out a lot in scholarships every year for our students, and so scholarships are important for attracting students to Georgia Tech and to Scheller College of Business. And so I think with scholarships, just my high level view is just they're important. I mean, they're important, and accessibility is important. And so being able to provide those scholarships, get more people into the classroom is important to us. And so there are different kinds of scholarships. Some scholarships have different focus and stuff, but they're a big part of the program. We have scholarships. We also have opportunities for research assistance, for teaching assistants as well. And so that helps defray the cost of the MBA too.
How does that work, being a research or teaching assistant?
Yeah, it can work out. It can work out great for the student, and I think the professor too. But I think one is it's kind of a little bit of a matchmaking process. I mean, you look at the professors and you ask them, what would you like in a research assistant or as a TA? What kind of skills are you looking for? And then you look at the skills of the incoming students, and then you can sort of set a match that's good for everybody. And it's been terrific. I mean, I've had MBA TAs for several of my classes, and they just do a fantastic job. They do a fantastic job during office hours and meeting with students and explaining the concepts, and that alternative voice to mine is sometimes important. They do a very fair job grading the exams and things like that. So it's a good experience, and I think what we really try to do is take into account the demands of or the what the professor is looking for with what the student interests are, and a lot of times there's a very good match, so the students get something meaningful for them to work on as well.
I mean, no, I find that really interesting, and I'm wondering, like, what is a typical time commitment? Like, say I was to help you with your finance class, if I was lucky enough to be chosen.
Yeah, different time commitments. I mean, I
It's
think we
different.
we
Okay.
typically say like 7 to 14 hours a week, depending on the role. So that's the time commitment. It's manageable. I
Yeah.
think in any MBA program, you have to be very, very good with your time management skills as to where how you're gonna get everything done. But the time commitment is definitely you can definitely get everything done.
Yeah, because I read on your site that over 50% of your class, your incoming class, gets some sort of scholarship or perhaps this opportunity to work. What do you call it again? A fellowship or teaching assistant?
Graduate teaching assistant or
Graduate teaching
graduate
assistant.
research assistant, GRA
Yes.
GTA. Yep.
GTAG. All right, got it. Got the slang. Okay, let's talk about careers, because obviously this is a huge topic. Now, I saw your stats of your last class, and I saw a lot of consultants, like a lot of people moving into consulting industry or serving in that consulting function. But I'm wondering if there are a lot of graduates who end up starting their own companies, given where you are, or like, yeah,
We
just if you
see,
could
yeah,
help paint us a picture.
yeah, it's always good. I mean, I think we see a lot of students from Scheller go into consulting, and they go to some of the biggest names in consulting, and so that's a big draw for our students. But we really see a good cross section. Once you get beyond those that go into consulting, we see people go into corporate type jobs. We're surrounded by Home Depot, Coca-Cola, NCR, Honeywell's nearby. And so we see people go into those kinds of jobs in different functions, right? Some in finance, some in HR, some in operations. And so we see a fair number go into those kinds of jobs. We see some people that are interested in getting involved with a startup, and we have had some alums launch their own businesses, and so we see a broad cross section of interest. I would say you're right. Where people are trending the past several years have been consulting. There's a good fit there with the consulting firms and with Scheller students and their interests.
And technology as well, like the
Um,
technology industry.
Yeah, I mean, even within consulting, right? You can work with tech firms and things like that, and so yeah, there's a range of practices that they'll go into.
And yeah, could you just tell us more about how the Scheller College of Business helps your graduates get those first jobs and then with their careers as alumni?
So we have and I'll share some stats to back this up, but we just have a fantastic career center. It's the Jones Career Center. They have been rated in the top five for the past several years. I mean, they just do a fantastic job. They do a fantastic job of bringing companies into Scheller, and so they've helped bring the tech companies like Apple, Microsoft, those places into Scheller to recruit our students. And so they do a fantastic job of bringing companies into Scheller. But then what they really do a fantastic job of is just prepping students to do well in the interviews, to land those internships, and to land those careers. And it really starts from day one. Last week, our career center did a full week orientation for our incoming class, and we had a case competition where they had to work on the case, present it out to a series of judges. And so we really get them practicing and working on their career skills before classes even start. And really what I like, I mean, I think the stats are really impressive of what our career center has been able to accomplish. And so we just passed the 3 month period, right, which we gauge career stats and MBA programs for, and the preliminary stats look really pretty good. So 96%
Wow.
post graduation employment after 3 months. The average base salary,
Jeez.
$154,679 this
Wow.
year. So that's up over 13% from last year. And the
It's
average
big time.
signing bonus, again, preliminary for 2023, $28,245. And so the career stats, the outcomes have been really good. And that, as a finance professor, that always makes me proud because, I think a good gauge of your program success is where you're able to place your students, right? In a lot of ways, that's what the
Absolutely.
market thinks of your students and how they're performing. And so I love looking at career stats, and I think if you look at Scheller's career stats the past couple of years, they've just been incredibly impressive. Our students are doing great. They're well prepared by the Jones Career Center, and so the employment stats are definitely a point of pride for Scheller.
Congratulations, by the way, on that. Yeah. And I mean, what are the unique relationships that Scheller and Georgia Tech have with employers and the wider business community to help land those jobs?
It's interesting. I mean, I think it's just companies gravitate to Georgia Tech. They want to be located nearby. They see what they see in Georgia Tech and what they see in the Scheller College of Business is this big pool of smart, motivated problem solvers that they can hire from. And so I think employers just are gravitating to Atlanta. They're gravitating closer to Georgia Tech to get those tie-ins right to our students. And so I think that's a big draw. I think these companies, they really like these students that have that technological background combined with their business acumen. I mean, it makes for a powerful combination. And so I think that's what really draws companies into Georgia Tech and into
Yeah.
Scheller.
I mean, do most of your students do the summer internships?
All of them do. I mean, I think
All
we
of
we
them do.
really
Wow.
I think we really pride ourselves in the full-time MBA program that 100% are doing internships. And so that's so important for them to get out there, work for companies, and so we really try to get them thinking pretty early on. Where are you going to do your internship at the end of your first year? And so the intern placement rate has just been fantastic.
Wow. And so what should students' expectations be for, when they come into the program? What I mean, obviously you guys are doing your part, trying your best, but what do they need to do and what should their expectations be?
Yeah, I mean, I think what students' expectations should be when they come into our program is that we have a lot of people that want you to succeed on the job market. We want you to land that dream job when you finish up, and so I think that's what students should expect is that they're going to be people that are here to help them, that are going to be giving them feedback so that they can do well in the interviews. But there's a good support network to help you land that job, and I think students should expect that. And I think
Hmm.
I think is if students show up and they understand that and they engage with it, they're going to land a fantastic job when they finish up.
What is your view towards like career goals when students apply and they're often told, okay, pick a industry, function, geography to target, but obviously they might change their mind during the program, discover something new. Like Because I think this is it's a tricky question, right? Because I think you want to see focus, but be open-minded as well.
Yeah, it's a really tricky question, and I think my advice to students is always, follow your passions, and what you're interested in at the end of your first semester in the program might not be what you wanted to do when you started the program, and I think that's fine. And so, yeah, I would just advise students to follow their passion, and if that's something different than it was when you applied, I think that's fine. If it's a different career path than what you had originally thought, I think that's great. I always think when I went off to college, I thought I wanted to be a physics major, and that lasted one semester, and then I just I love math, I love economics, and so that's what I pursued. And so I would give the same advice to any students. Pursue what you're interested in, pursue what industries you're interested in, and that can change, right? That can change a lot when you get surrounded by a diverse set of classmates with differing backgrounds. You're going to be exposed to things that you may not have thought about before, different career paths, different career trajectories. And so I think that's one of those great things. So I would just say be open-minded when you come into the program.
Got it. This has been a great talk, Professor. I just want to give you the stage. Anything else that you just wish more applicants knew about your program?
Yeah, I think it's a terrific program, and if you're interested in that intersection of business and technology, definitely give Scheller a look. And we definitely pride ourselves on our hands-on curriculum and our career stats. And so, yeah, if you'd like more information, please reach out.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Touch MBA podcast. Remember, you can get free school selection help and a profile review at touchmba.com. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter. Just search for Touch MBA.